If you're looking for a Swiss cheese recipe, you're in the right place. My friend Michael asked me to teach him how to make Swiss cheese. Meet Michael Stauffer, a bona fide Swiss descendant.
Guten Tag. I'm excited to be here. My ancestors made a cheese similar to this in Switzerland back in the 1300s, so I'm excited to be here with Lisa today.
This is going to be a lot of fun. He's going to follow along with me and do everything that I do, and you can do that too. If this is your first time making Swiss cheese, grab your cooking pot and come into my kitchen. Let me show you how to make Swiss cheese. All right, let's get our cook on. Take 3 gallons of pasteurized, unhomogenized milk and heat it to 85 degrees. Heat the milk slowly. Take a 1/4 teaspoon of thermophilic culture and sprinkle it on the top and allow it to rehydrate for 5 minutes.
So Lisa, why are we using thermophilic culture rather than mesophilic culture?
That's a good question. So each culture does its work best at different temperatures, and as soon as you reach 104 degrees in your recipe, you need to switch to thermophilic. We're going to be taking this milk today to 120 degrees. It's a heat-loving culture. Then stir the thermophilic culture for 1 minute. Now we're going to add the propionic shamani, and we're going to mix it in a 1/4 cup of milk. And just mix it in right there. Stir it up and pour it into the milk. Since this is the culture responsible for making the eyes or the holes that are characteristic of Swiss cheese, we want to make sure that this culture is stirred in very well into the milk. Let's stir for about 1.5 minutes. Then cover the pot and let it rest for 45 minutes. Now it's time to coagulate the milk. We'll take a 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water and we're going to use that to dilute the calcium chloride. Take 3/4 of a teaspoon of the calcium chloride and add it to the water. Add it to the milk and stir it in for 1 minute. And now we'll do the same thing with the rennet. 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water. And mix the rennet into the water. Oops. See what I did there? Part of my rennet went straight into the milk, so we got to get to stirring. It's all good. Pour it in and stir for no longer than 1 minute. All right, now it's time to check for a clean break. Remove the lid. Take your curd knife or a long knife that goes to the bottom of the pot. Put it into the middle of the curd mass and slice. Pull the slice back, and if you start to see whey filling into the slice, it's ready to go. It should have the consistency of like pudding or a custard. So we're pretty close. We're going to go ahead and wait about 5 minutes on this one, and then we'll cut these curds. Cut the curds vertically then horizontally in 1/2 inch cubes. Nice work. High five. Once you've finished cutting the curds, put the lid back on the pot and let them rest for 5 minutes. Slowly bring the curds to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and once 90 degrees has been reached, stir the curds for 40 minutes. Stir very gently at this phase. The curds are fragile and you don't want them to shatter or break. So just take your time. If you see any curds that are too large, you can cut them gently with the edge of your spoon. So as we were bringing the curds to 90 degrees, we noticed Michael's jumped up to, he went to 90 a lot quicker than I did, and then almost immediately jumped to 106. Now that's unusual, especially since he was on a very low flame. So I'm using my thermometer and he is right at 90. Every once in a while your equipment can fail. So the best thing to do if your temperature isn't quite what you think it is you can probably calibrate it. You just need to look in the instructions and get it calibrated. And or a fast and easy way to do that would be to obviously plunge it into boiling water and see if it comes out to the right temp. But no worries, he's good. These curds are perfect. Better check mine. Once the 40-minute stir is complete, we're going to move to the next phase of stirring, and we are going to now take this temperature from 90 degrees to 120 degrees over a 35-minute period of time. And it's important to keep this at a very even pace, so roughly a degree a minute, and maintain the stir at this point.
So where's your cat that I see in all your videos?
YumYum. Yeah, she's not here because you're here. She is a one-person cat, and I'm pretty sure she's hiding under the covers. I was right. There she is, under the covers. Towards the end of the stir, the curds are shrinking, and you can stir more vigorously to prevent the matting. Once 120 is reached, maintain the temp and stir for 15 more minutes. Once the 15 minutes is finished, your curds will have shrunk to about the size of kernels of corn or maybe peanuts. Just like that. That's what they should look like. All right, 90 minutes of stirring done. Whew. Go ahead and put the lid on the pot and allow the curds to sink to the bottom for about 5 minutes. Place a pot into the sink to collect the whey. We'll be making ricotta with this later. Then place your colanders onto the pot. Now you'll notice Michael is using a fine mesh colander, and I'm using a regular colander with a number 10 cheesecloth laid over it so that we catch every bit of the curds, because every little piece of curds is cheese. Now take your pot and go ahead and pour the curds and whey into the colander. That did not work.
Hold yours while you do it.
Sure, let's try that. There we go. Another option. Hang on a second. Now the moment of truth. We're going to take both of these sets of curds and we're going to put them into one large mold. We hope to get a 6-pound cheese out of these curds. We're pretty excited about it. Then fold the cheesecloth onto the cheese. I'm going to make a little case. Yep. Then take the follower and place the other one on top. And then place it into the press. And press at 10 pounds for 15 minutes. After the first press is complete, remove the weights and remove the cheese from the mold. Be very careful at this stage. The cheese is just beginning to form its shape, so it's pretty fragile. Flip it over. And redress the cheese. Sometimes you end up with excess cheesecloth, and that's not a problem. You can just cut some of it away. Just make sure this scissors is sanitized. Then place the cheese back into the mold and repress it at 15 pounds for 30 minutes. See you in 30 minutes. Remove the cheese from the mold. Flip it over and redress it. And then press again at 15 pounds for 2 hours. You'll repeat this step in 2 hours. You'll flip it over again, and then you'll press it again at 15 pounds for 12 hours or overnight. So to be clear, the whole pressing process goes like this: 10 pounds for 15 minutes, 15 pounds for 30 minutes, 15 pounds for 2 hours, and then 15 pounds for 12 hours or overnight, flipping each time. See you in the morning. Now it's time to brine the cheese. I'm using a 25% brine solution. That's a gallon of non-chlorinated water and 2 pounds of non-iodized salt. And I prepared this yesterday. I went ahead and brought the water to a near boil and then added the salt. And then I allowed it to cool to room temperature so that when I'm ready to add the cheese, they will be at the same temperature. Take 1 teaspoon of calcium chloride and stir it into the brine. The calcium chloride helps prevent the calcium from being leached out of the cheese during the brining process. Then take the cheese and we'll add it into the brine. Now this is a food safe bucket. It's important that whenever you're using plastics with cheese making, just make sure that that's always food safe. And isn't this cheese beautiful? I weighed it just a moment ago and it is 5 pounds 14 ounces. So that's the largest cheese I've made to date. Go ahead and place it into the brine for 12 hours. You'll flip it at the 6-hour mark to make sure that the entire cheese is brined evenly. After the brining stage is complete, take it out of the brine and dry it off with a paper towel and place it into a ripening box. It will live here in the ripening box for 7 days. You'll flip it every day. Your cheese will live here in the ripening box for 7 days. Make sure you flip it every single day and store it in your cheese cave or any place that you can find at 54 degrees Fahrenheit. I like to repurpose a pie carrying container because it has a vent on the top, and that way some of the moisture can escape. The hope is that you're going to create an environment of about 85% humidity. And now we're going to let the cheese rest at room temperature at between 68 and 70 degrees. You'll want to flip it twice daily and inspect it to make sure there's no mold. This is day 10 of the drying stage for this Swiss cheese. Now, during this 14-day period, what we're trying to do is allow the propionic Shermani to do its magic and create some holes. And you know it's starting to do that when you see this. I'm going to show this to you. You should notice a dome on the top and on the bottom. It's pretty cool. That's a good thing. That means that the cheese is creating holes inside, and I'm pretty excited about that. Now, I've been flipping and inspecting this cheese every day, and today I did notice a very small, tiny amount of mold on the top of the surface. So I'm going to take a cheesecloth and I'm going to dip it in white vinegar, and I'm just going to wash that small little bit of mold right off the cheese. I do have a challenge with this cheese, and I've discovered that this cheese is too big for a normal vac seal bag, and I normally vac seal all my cheeses. So I have a decision to make about how I choose to store it. Stay tuned and find out how I end up storing this cheese. We are on day 14, and Michael is back with me after I've been patiently taking care of this cheese. And as you can notice, I'm pretty excited about this. We do have some significant doming. So we are optimistic that we're about to see some eyes forming. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to cut it in half. I guess this is the big reveal, so let's give it a shot. What do you think? Wow. So I'm cutting through the rind. Listen to that.
Seems pretty solid.
Yes, it definitely does. And we're hoping for holes because we would like a nice Swiss, typical Swiss cheese. And I'll finish cutting off the other side here. I think this is one of those times I could use one of those cheese wires. That might have to be on the list for later. All right, so we're gonna look first. Oh my goodness, check this out. This is beautiful. Hey, for a high five. You wanna see? Take a look. There it is. Look at that. That is beautiful. That's another high five.
Nice work.
Nice work. All right, Michael, so take a look here. Here's what we've done. So all the holes are just the way we want them to be. And I think part of the reason this worked so well is we have formed a perfect rind. You can see the dark yellow all the way around. So we've got just a gorgeous natural rind going. And basically what we did is we built a case for the propionic Shermani to do its magic, and that's exactly what it did. The way to build the case, there are two things that are pretty important. And the first one that I have found is to make sure that your house sits between 68 and 70 degrees. And let me tell you, we're really more of a 72-degree family, so we're actually looking forward to bumping the temperature up a little bit. But the things you do to sacrifice for cheese. Now, the second thing that you'll want to do is make sure that when you create this recipe, this is a 3-pound recipe, and I would make sure that the mold is tall enough. I would go for a taller cylindrical mold to make sure that the propionic Shermani has enough room to create the holes. If you do a very short sort of pancake style cheese, it might not have enough room to create those domes that you're looking for. So between those two precautions that we took, I think that we did it right, and now we have a decision on our hands. So Michael, we have 4 choices to seal this cheese. You can vacuum seal a cheese, you can wax a cheese, you can cloth bandage it, or you can continue to natural rind it. And should we choose a natural rind, I would need to make sure that I had a temperature of 54 degrees, which I do in my cheese cave. But the challenge is I don't really have a great way to control the humidity. And if you're going to use a natural rind process, you need to have the humidity at about 80%. And the best I can do in my cheese cave is 60. So that one's out. I'm not sure we want to cloth bandage it because I think we might affect the holes. What do you think?
Yeah, we don't want to mess those up.
Because they're pretty beautiful. And then, so that leaves us with vacuum sealing and waxing. And waxing is off the plate right now because my order of wax isn't in. So we're back to vacuum sealing and we have an issue. This is the reason why we cut the cheese. My vacuum sealer capacity appears to be a 5-pound cheese, and this is a 6-pound cheese with some dome growth. So I did some Q&A earlier, and the whole round did not fit into my vacuum sealer bags. So we made the decision together to cut it, and we're good with that. So I'll be vacuum sealing each one of these pieces. Michael, when do you want to eat this cheese?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible. So if we want some flavor developing, I recommend between 2 and 3 months. Can you wait that long?
I guess we'll have to make do.
We're going to have to try. So I'm going to vacuum seal this, and then I'll put it in the cave for 3 months, and then we'll be enjoying this cheese. Hey Michael, thanks for doing this with me. It was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate your support. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can like it and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.